Okay. This is a continuation of lesson 3.7 on order of operations. So before you would have watched the previous lesson video, and now in this part we're just covering the last question, number 4. So again, following the rules of PEMDAS, we're going to look at the operations here in this question. So question 4, we know we have brackets first, so I'm just going to write PEMDAS or BEMDAS off to the side here. So we do have brackets first, so we're going to solve what's in brackets. I'm going to rewrite the question in the same order that it appears. And then because we're going to do the operation down here, I'm just going to make sure I line up my decimals so that I know that, so then I get 1.2 as my answer, 1 2/10. Okay, so we know that we're going to solve 12 4/10 divided by 1 2/10 as our last part of this question. So first what we're going to do is we're going to do an estimate down here. So you know that 12 4/10 is the original divided by 1 2/10. My estimate will probably be, and I'm just going to do this in a different color, I would estimate this at 12 divided by 1. So I'm following the decimal benchmark. Our estimate's going to be around 12, so our answer should be around 12. When you're actually dividing it, and I'll do it down here, we know we're going to divide without the decimal. So we're going to do 124 divided by 12. Now, to accommodate the fact that I took away the decimal and 1 2/10 for the divisor, I'm going to add 2 zeros here in my dividend as I'm dividing. So I divide as normal, so I'm just going to follow the steps here of dividing. Divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. I know that I can't do 1 divided by 12 easily because that'll be 0, so I'm going to skip that step. I'm going to go 12 divided by 12, which is 1. 1 times 12, you're multiplying, is 12. And then you're going to subtract, and that becomes a 0. And then you bring down the 4. You repeat the cycle again. You're going to divide 4 by 12. And then when you do 4 by 12, when you get 4 by 12, it's 0 because that is the closest you can get to 4. And then you multiply again. 0 times 12 is 0. You subtract one more time and you get a 4. You bring down the 0. Repeat the cycle again. 40 divided by 12, the closest you can get is a 3. You know that 3 times 12 is 36. And then you subtract and you get a 4. Now actually, I'm not going to move on anymore because I can see the same thing is going to keep happening. I'm going to get a 40. And then I'm going to multiply it out the last time. I know that 3 times 12 is going to be 36. I subtract and a 4. So I know I'm going to always end up with a remainder 4. But this is also something else I want you to look at. Notice that your remainder is 4 and the divisor is 12. So really, what you have as your remainder is 4/12. But if you can see, I can see that the decimal is going to repeat 3 is going to be the repeating digit in the decimal. But there's a way to connect this to something you previously learned. If you look at, again, the remainder is 4, and then you look at what the divisor is, it's 12. Well, if you reduce that to lowest terms, I'm going to divide the numerator and denominator by 4. I'm going to get 1/3. Now think to yourself, 1/3 as a decimal is actually 3/10 repeating, which is actually what you're going to end up here with. Remember our estimate, going back to the decimal, our estimate is around 12. I know the decimal place has to go between the 0 and the 3 because 10 is closest to 12. Therefore, your final answer is actually going to be 10 3/10 repeating. I'll just repeat that again. If you look at your remaining fraction that you're left with, and you're wondering if you're on the right track with your long division, and you keep getting a repeating decimal, connect it to what you've previously learned. You know you have 4 and you know you have 12 here. Well, if you write it as a fraction, which is what essentially is your remainder, you get 4 over 12. But that actually connects to a pattern you already know about repeating decimals. You know that anything over a third is going to be 3/10 repeating. And that's your final answer.